If you think back to early 2020 when the pandemic first hit, you may recall hearing a lot about the surge in worker productivity. The general consensus was that workers were dedicating more hours working from home, typically on their home computers, instead of using that time to either get ready for work or commute back and forth from work. Generally speaking, that was considered a positive externality from the pandemic. However, as the pandemic wore on and remote or hybrid work continued, worker productivity went up and down somewhat unpredictably. And when it was down, skeptics said workers were goofing off during work hours due to remote and hybrid work. Meanwhile, many workers, particularly parents and other caregivers, hailed the flexibility of remote and hybrid work and better work-life balance overall. But does that mean that there is necessarily a trade-off between worker productivity and work-life balance? For some industries like manufacturing, it's not that hard to measure, as you can take the value and number of widgets produced and divide by the number of worker hours. But as you get into the service sector, measurement becomes more difficult. Also, the value of worker productivity is higher in higher skilled industries like engineering and, of course, economics. Also, the value of worker productivity is higher in higher skilled industries like engineering and, of course, economics. So worker productivity looked artificially high, especially in the early parts of the pandemic, because lower skilled service sectors like hotels and restaurants shut down. As those industries slowly came back, productivity looked artificially low. In fact, in the first half of 2023, worker productivity is a bit higher at a 1.3% annualized rate. Undoubtedly, this is part of the reason U.S. economic growth is holding up better than expected despite inflation and higher interest rates. And another piece of promising data is that artificial intelligence is supposed to boost worker productivity much like personal computers and the internet did in the 1990s. This is where investments in American innovation can be a huge comparative advantage.